One Team Media.
Welcome to the DGD Podcast.
Juan Daniels, touchdown, Georgia.
This is your favorite receiver, Juan Daniels, and you're listening to the DGD Podcast with my man, Robert Reynolds. Go Dogs!
Welcome back to the DGD Podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds is your host. Juan Daniels might be here. Got some prearranged type things to deal with. So if he hops in, we will catch him later. Look, everybody's already wishing happy birthday. Today is my birthday. Thank you very much. But first, the show sponsored by La Touraine, right? La Touraine, great watches at affordable prices. La-Touraine.com. Use code DGD at checkout to get 10% off of your purchase. Lot to talk about today, though. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. Look, it does a lot for the show, more than you realize, and it's free to do. It takes just a second. Obviously listening to it here, let's take a look at the South Carolina game. I'm going to take a little bit of a review there and also talk a little bit about some SEC games over the week and how these things will play out moving forward. But first, let's go ahead and start talking about South Carolina, right? Dominant win, 40-13. And honestly, as much as there is, to sit here and take away, the first thing that came to my mind was some weaknesses that Georgia really got exposed on. And that was Josh Vann taking the top off of our defense when Luke Doty came in. His ability to go up and kind of get over the defense and exposed our secondary a little bit, which obviously we had questions leading into it. But nonetheless, I think looking into it, I think we will get better. And, really outside of that, though, the other question was, offensive line and obviously the liability, which I hate to call names, but we'll get more into that in just a minute. But initial takeaways from the game, obviously looking at, for the most part, I think it was a good win. A.D. Mitchell gets his first touchdown. J.T. Daniels, obviously the biggest name there, coming back and really showing no signs of any kind of rust or anything like that. So that's always a good sign there when your starter comes in. Still, I really don't like this move. The whole quarterback carousel, letting JT get hot and then putting in Stetson and then immediately going and having, throwing a pick on the first play. I really don't like that idea there. Could have been better, just let JT play. But, I'm just here sitting, behind a microphone. And everyone else, Kirby Smart is making millions to coach the Georgia Bulldogs. So what do I know? But nonetheless, I think you look at, South Carolina and, we were able to stop the run for the most part. And I think, outside of Vann, we were able to shut down the offense. Obviously, Zeb Nolan got the start. Luke Doty came in shortly after with Zeb getting hurt. And obviously, I think Doty is the guy moving forward for South Carolina. I really do. I was talking to one of my friends, Chris, from the Spurs Up show. And one of the things about it, though, is, everybody looks at Georgia and South Carolina. Georgia's not the test for South Carolina. Look at this week where they play Kentucky. I think that's a little bit better of a test for them. So it was kind of expected. I don't think anybody expected South Carolina to come in and make noise. And obviously it didn't happen. But they did show signs of, weakness. Georgia did. So obviously there's things to work on as we get ready for Vanderbilt Saturday. The Nashville Nerds, if you want to call them that. Sorry, guys. I'm not sorry, actually. But for the most part, I think looking into it, there's good things to take away, right? Obviously, JT coming in, any signs of the oblique injury, I didn't see it. I mean, you could, obviously you want to be careful, but I didn't see it. Looking at it, the run game, right? Obviously, the run game was a question. We hadn't really been getting things going and moving. We ran the ball very well, easily the best running game this year. But I do think that we still have to work on that a lot and have to get better at that. We really do. We just have to be able to, I think, to take the next step and get into the championship. I think that's something you have to do. Obviously, like I said, there's some things around the SEC that I do want to talk about a little bit later. Honestly, I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how Georgia's season plays out. But nonetheless, obviously a huge dominating win. Defense did its thing. Channing Tindall, if you're not familiar with him by now, you better get familiarized with Channing Tindall. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I can say. Dude has ridiculous speed. Obviously Darren Kendrick, we'll move on to Darren Kendrick here, comes up with a pick. Just really looking good there. Really looking good. So obviously you're looking at, what South Carolina took away. Like I said, Doty was their guy, right? Doty is their guy. And he really showed up, a threat to Georgia, for a temporarily threat, I guess you could say, with his ability to throw the deep ball to Van, more specific, which, like I said, Van had a great game. Moss, Darren Kendrick, made some great catches, right? Just did. Obviously looking forward here. Obviously the secondary has to get shored up beside Darren Kendrick. Who's going to be that guy, right? Obviously news today broke Jalen Kimber will be out for the season. It seems like he went and had a season-ending surgery, so his season is over. Obviously, you look at guys like Amir Speed, Keely Ringo. Who is going to be the guy that steps up and plays beside Darren Kendrick? Obviously, Speed got beat a couple times deep. On the second play when they threw it deep, got burnt by Van. So really need a cornerback to step up. You really do. But obviously our defense did its thing, and I think you can't be mad. You can complain about a couple things like I'm talking about, but overall it's just a great game. It really was a good game. Moving forward, right? Obviously you're also questioning who's going to, when are we going to see Darnell? When are we going to see Tyke Smith, right? But everybody has to remember that Tyke is going to play star, not cornerback. But does that mean Brainy plays corner? Who knows? Really, who really knows? I don't. I don't know. I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you that I know. But I mean, nonetheless, I think there are some questions there. But obviously, we're also starting to see some guys come back from injury at the right time. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Kieris is coming back, eased him in on some punt returns, but Ladd McConkey is looking just as fine. Like, that's the good thing about our depth right now. You look at that right there. So, moving forward here, I do kind of want to talk about some SEC here. Obviously, Georgia's biggest threat, biggest rival in the East, biggest threat overall. Bama, Florida played Saturday, and I don't know how to come about saying this, but it looks like Alabama's beatable. I don't know how much of it is that compared to how much of it is Florida's actually a legit team. Don't really know. So, with that being said, though, you look at obviously the game situation. First quarter, Bama goes out. It looks normal, 21-3, kind of what I was expecting. But then you turn around to the second half, and it just becomes a completely different game. Florida storms back with Emory Jones and, ends up being 31-29. Obviously there are no moral victories when it comes to football, right? But there's a lot to question on both teams. And honestly, I'm at the point where I don't know which to believe. And I think it's more Bama being kind of mortal looking, because Henry To'oTo'o looked absolutely lost, and they were just running at him, and nobody could stop it. Like, he couldn't stop it. And I think you're exposing the key blueprints here to really make a push to beat Bama this year. Emory Jones has been, subpar, at least in my opinion, but nonetheless, he didn't turn the ball over. I think he threw one pick, but that was it. And outside of that, he, managed well and actually ran the ball well. And that right there, the quarterback run, but I don't know if Bama was not ready for it, but they couldn't stop it. And that's what allowed them to come back in, really establishing the run game. They ran for over 200 yards of rushing against Alabama, and that's uncommon. So with that being said, that really makes a question to, like I said, is Alabama beatable this year? I don't know if they're, at least right now, at the level that they typically were in years past. That raises a lot of questions because, well, Georgia is lurking and waiting probably in the SEC championship game. But you also have to worry about, from Bama's standpoint, can they beat Ole Miss? And that's a question there. But that'll be a couple weeks from now. That'll be a very good game. I think week 5 is when that game is. So that'll be interesting to see. But kind of want to transition into the SEC here with my power rankings. So with that being said, we'll start here with the West. And I still have Alabama at 1. I think that it was a toss-up here between Alabama and Ole Miss. At one point, wanted to switch Ole Miss to number 1. They just don't have a defense, guys. They really don't have a defense that makes me, comfortable with moving them to number 1. Their offense is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Matt Corral is going to be the Heisman. There's no question about it. But can they stop anybody? I think their defense has gotten better. However, I don't know if it's good enough to beat Bama. That's the key right there. They've got a game with Texas A&M as well, which is Texas A&M at number 3 for this week. Calzada looked fairly good, but Texas A&M goes to Jerry World and plays Arkansas. So we'll see what happens with both of these teams. See who's real, who's not come Saturday. And Arkansas being at number 4, this is going to change. This could change, very well could change comes, next week, depending on how that game plays out. Because we're about to find out if Arkansas is the real deal or not. You beat Texas, but to me, I'm not sold on Texas whatsoever. So if Arkansas does win against A&M, then you almost you move them up, right? You move them up to number 3. Depending on how they win, you could almost move them to number 2. But then after A&M, then they go to play Georgia. And I think if they beat A&M, that will truly be the test there. I really do. But for now, I have Arkansas at 4. Auburn at number 5. Look, the Happy, obviously going up to Happy Valley playing Penn State, in the whiteout. Penn State's not the greatest team, but at the end of the day, you do take a loss. There's some questionable calls there, completely missing it down from the refs. The refs is screwing them there. The targeting penalty was a bunch of bullshit in my opinion too. But, you take an L up in Happy Valley. It's not the worst loss that you could deal with, but it's still a loss. So I have Auburn at 5. 5. LSU at 6. I moved them up. I know it's Central Michigan. I know. But they took care of business. They did what they had to do, regardless of the opponent. So, have them at 6. Mississippi State. I really just don't think that it matters too much. Mississippi State's going to be there unless they just, LSU completely just falls off just completely falls off. So, that's my West predictions. Like I said, I'll go 1 through 7 here. So Alabama at 1, Ole Miss 2, Texas A&M 3, 4 Arkansas, 5 Auburn, 6 LSU, and Mississippi State at the bottom at number 7. Now we move on to the East. There's no question here. Georgia at number 1. I don't think it's even close. Making a move to number 2, Florida. Even in a loss, I still have to take into play here the ability to play Bama close. Now, like I said, how much of that is Bama, being vulnerable, or how much is that Florida actually showing that they're a really good team? That's to be determined. But I look at it, and regardless, I think the way they played, I think it was merit to move them up number 2, maybe even if it is for just this week. Number 3, Kentucky falling down to 3. They did take a win. They did get the win, although ugly. They did get a win. I don't expect them to to play that ugly kind of game again this week. So we'll see what happens there, but I do move them to number 3. Mizzou at 4. I don't think this changes. Considering the next 3 at the bottom here, I think Mizzou probably stays at number 4. Obviously, Kentucky beating them in week 2 kind of keeps them there. Still did pull out a win, but obviously it's just going to be wait and see with Eli and company there in Como. Number 5, Tennessee. Tennessee's probably going to fall down. It's only a matter of time, in my opinion. It's only a matter of time. 6, South Carolina. Look, they got, as expected, they couldn't compete with Georgia, but that's not a testament to, a detriment to how bad they are or anything like that. It's just where they are right now, and trying to, to move up and trying to build establish the culture, things like that with Shane Beamer. They're going to be fine. It's just taking some time, as expected. But right now they are at 6. And then 7, like I said, Vanderbilt. I don't think Vanderbilt changes here. I really don't see them moving anywhere. I really don't. Obviously they stay at 7 here, which kind of leads us to, the Georgia-Vanderbilt game, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But, Vanderbilt, it's just not a good team right now. Not a good team at all. So those are the power rankings. If you're in the comments, hit us up with your power rankings, what you saw that you liked, what you didn't like. Let us know in the comments while we're sitting here and talking a little bit about it. Obviously, like I said, South Carolina. I think South Carolina is a up and coming program. Kind of give them some moment here. They got outplayed, right? And Shane Beamer knew what was coming in. That it was going to be a difficult task to try to beat Georgia. And I'd said earlier that you got to just play competitive. That's the kind of thing that South Carolina was looking to do. You can't come in here and expect to beat Georgia like 2019, and that didn't do anything for them in 2019. Wouldn't do anything now. The key there is to play competitively. I do think that they made some progress here, exposing our secondary. They didn't score a lot of points. They did score on Georgia, though. So, that is a big deal, right? That's a big deal. The first touchdown given up all season, offense or defensive touchdown given up. They have some things to take away as well. And then they look at playing, I think it's Kentucky at Willie B this week, night game there. So, a lot to take away from this. Obviously at the end of the day, I think obviously Georgia overpowers South Carolina just like we expected. Did not cover, right? The 31.5 point favorite or something there. Didn't cover it, but pretty came close. So, obviously looking at that right there, just a lot to take away. But also, obviously if you're keeping up with the news here, looking into a situation where I'm going to transition outside of, from this game, away from the game, and to focus around the program here. And it starts with George Pickens. Right? Everybody saw heard about the news. George Pickens running routes in practice, albeit on air, and looked great. The thing is, I expect him, if you're running routes on air, I would expect that to be the case. I would be concerned if it wasn't. But that also transitions to, if and when Pickens will play this year. And I've said it before, and I'll say this again now, Pickens is going to play this year. It's just a matter of when. Obviously, you look at, us beating Clemson, and that kind of expedited the national title hopes, right? Definitely put that on a fast track to the playoffs. So I think in this case right here, it's a matter of getting him ready for that, right? Obviously, if we take care of business, get him ready for that. And I think, there's talks that there could be ready for Florida game. Now, does Ron Corson and Kirby do that? Maybe. I just don't see it. I don't see that happening. Maybe after Florida for sure. Obviously there's less talent there. You've got Missouri, you've got Charleston Southern, Georgia Tech before the conference championship and things like that. I want to make sure that he's ready for the national or for the conference championship in Atlanta, and I want to make sure that he's ready to go for the playoffs if we do indeed make it there. So, Do I want to see him come Florida time? Yes. Yes, I do. Because I want to see what JT and George Pickens would do against Florida just to shut them fucking Gators up. That's all I'm going to say. I just want to see it. I really do. Because there's a lot of fans out there, Gator fans, that are all hyped up on Javon Dexter and Fon, Brenton Cox, the Georgia guy that goes from Georgia to Florida. I just want to shut him up. I really do. I really want to just shut him up. So I want us to be as full strength as we can, because there's a lot of Georgia fans that use the excuse we were out players last year. And that may be true. It may be. But it doesn't matter, because you still got to go play the game with what you got. So, obviously you can say that we didn't have our starters. And I think I do think that if we had those guys last year, it would have made a difference in the game. Yes. But we got beat. That's just the way that is. So, with that being said, Georgia, I want to see Georgia at full strength. Make no excuses. I want to see it as close as possible. I want to see it being even. And I just want to keep it going. You know what I mean? So, obviously looking at that right there, Pickens coming back. If Pickens comes back for Florida, there might be some pissed off Gator fans, and that's fine. Let them be pissed off. I'm okay with it. I really am. But you're looking into it. I think, it would be fun to just sit there and just throw up points on them. We're not going to get too much into that right there. But also, obviously, talking about injuries and guys coming back, you also have to look at Tyke Smith and Darnell potentially coming back. There's a potential that they could come back, play Saturday, right? What does that bring? What does that bring to Georgia? You see here, you have Brock Bowers emerging as he's leading the team in receiving as a true freshman. We saw him make play after play after play. Just imagine him and Darnell Washington back with Darnell being healthy. And then you have Fitzpatrick, which that just right there just shows you how deep we are at the tight end spot. But then you get Dominic Blaylock back in the receiver room, right? So there's a lot of guys that are injured right now that are coming back at the right time, because after Vanderbilt, these next 4 games that we play, that's our toughest stretch by far, because you're looking at an Arkansas team that's going to be ranked. You're looking at Kentucky that I think should be ranked. Auburn, we'll see what happens, but they'll probably be ranked. And then you sit there and you take a bye week and recoup, and then you sit there and go play the Gators in Jacksonville, ranked. So what looked to be a weak schedule actually turns out to be a difficult stretch here for Georgia. I was looking at it even before the season. No one expected Arkansas to do what they're doing right now. I knew they were going to be good. Did I expect them to beat Texas? Maybe, but I didn't. I called Texas to win. Eating my crow there. But nonetheless, Arkansas is a ranked team now. Kentucky has a passing game. I said it before in the offseason. All Kentucky needs is a passing game to be a true threat here. They've got it. That being said, now you really have to take the Kentucky game seriously. You can't sit there and try to stack the box like we would in years past. That's not the case. Now you actually have to sit there and defend against that offense, because they have the ability to throw the ball on you. And it makes for a better game. I think Georgia still wins that game, but it's not just an easy stop the run and be done. It's not going to be that way. Mistakes. You have to, get to the quarterback. Stop Rodriguez when it comes time to play Kentucky, right? But then also their defense is still just as good as it was last year. They're good. So you have to execute on offense, which turns to the offensive line. Look, there's got to be a change made on the offensive line. You have to make a change. Tate Ratledge's injury is really killing Georgia right now. It's really exposing the weakness that we have, and that's in the guard position, the interior offensive line positions. You have Jamari Sawyer playing left tackle, which he fits better at the guard position. This is why it's so crucial for somebody, whether it's Broderick, whether it's Mims, somebody's got to step up and take that left tackle spot, because then you sit there and you're able to slide Sawyer out of the tackle spot to left guard. You're able to move Justin Schaefer to right guard. Warren Erickson, the liability, becomes a backup center or he takes back over the center spot, depending on if Cedric Von Prawn handles his business and starts making, obviously plays better. I think he has to play better and has to really start understanding pre-snap. Look, the speed of the game is very fast. I'm not going to say it's not. So I'm not going to punish anybody or slander anybody for that. It's a completely different type of speed. But from a center position, there's just no excuse for missed assignments and identifying Mike IDs, things like this. You have to do it, because if you don't, somebody's going to get hurt. So you have to really know what you're doing. He did great. I think he did very well against Clemson. See UAB see a lot of mistakes. Then you look at South Carolina, did a little bit better than UAB by far, but you're still seeing Warren Erickson getting just out athletic, basically just not as athletic as he needs to be, and he keeps getting beat. So to me, Erickson's not the guy at right guard. That's why it's so crucial for Broderick or Mims to assume that left tackle spot. Somebody's got to make that, because if not, it's going to be a problem if we're still trotting out number 50, against the likes of Kentucky and Auburn, because those guys are going to look at him and they're going to hunt him down, because that's just the weakness right now. So somebody's got to make that stand. I expect it to be Broderick Jones based off of experience. He's got to. Do I want to see Mims? Absolutely. I think Mims is going to be a legit bona fide stud, as his time as the Dogs continues. I see that. Nonetheless, I'm just saying somebody has got to assume that left tackle spot. That way you can move Salyer down. You just have to. You just have to. But more about that. We will talk more about that tomorrow in the Vanderbilt game preview. For today, though, we're going to wrap it up for the podcast section here. So obviously, like I said, go check out LaTerrain.com. That's who we are sponsored by. Check out their watch selection, their sunglasses. They got a bunch of other things. Check out LaTerrain.com. That's La-Terrain. I'll spell it out for you. La-Touraine.com. Make sure, use code DGD at checkout for 10% off your purchase. And on that note, though, guys, make sure wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, things like that. It really helps and benefits the podcast. And on that note, go Dogs.
This is the DGD Podcast. Go Dogs.
All right, guys, and we're back on video for the Q&A. So going back through some comments here, looking at what Sunil says, Jay Shipes. Jay Shipes says A&M statistically worst offense in the SEC, even worse than Vandy. Damn, what a take, man. I think they're better than that. You got to look, Vanderbilt, if you put them in a debate situation, sure. But Jalen Weidermeyer and Spiller and Calzada, look, even without Haynes King, that offense is way better than Vanderbilt, what they put out there. I'm sorry, but that's just the way that is. So I have to disagree with you there on that, Jay. He also says Mississippi State is hard to see on charts. Put them in the pirate colors. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they do have a pirate lead in their program, so that is that. Jay also says LSU will get better for sure. I'm still not sold on that, man. I'm really not. Max Shaw, I think there's a possibility that they do, but the real question there is, do they? And look, they just lost one of their senior, I want to say their leading defensive players for the season. So they're losing a lot right now, and to me that's kind of questionable, right? That's just questionable. And then I think Allen tore something in his foot from G Bama Boy here. I think that's referencing an Alabama player, Anderson or whatever. Tanil says, speaking to G Bama boy, we just got news that Jalen Kimber's out with a shoulder injury, happened in the UAB game. Yeah, so obviously prayers out to him. Hopefully things get better for him, and hopefully hopefully surgery goes well and he recovers well. Just to make sure of what you got there. I think this is funny here from Jay. I think Saban likes to let Mullen hang around, but never let them lead to keep in check. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there, man. I'm with you there. I think it's about right. Jay or Tanil or G Bama says Dan Kimber's out. Yeah. I think looking at what he was able to provide, I think he was going to have a shot to make an impact in the secondary. Injuries happen though. So like I said, prayers to him. Hopefully surgery goes well and his recovery goes well. Jay also says LSU showed glimpses of coming around. Remember who they played though? That you played Central Michigan. I want to sell it, to sell me on showing glimpses. I agree with that though. They did show glimpses, but I want to see it against a better opponent before I can make it comfortable to say that LSU is a better team than where they were. Until then, I'm not sold yet, so that's going to be the key there. Let's just go back up. All right, so previewing here what Bama has. G Bama boy says talking Jay. We have 4 like Van. Watch out. I'm assuming that's referencing the receivers at Alabama. Honestly though, man, that defense is what's going to be the problem. I think for Bama, they have, and I'm not saying anything here. I expect Nick Saban to make the adjustments. I expect to see some guys rotating in, and you may see different starters because everybody wants to say Henry To'oTo'o is going to be one of the best guys, but he went to Tennessee for a reason. He went to Tennessee for a reason. I just don't trust it until he shows me otherwise. I'm not sold on To'oTo'o at all. I'm really not. Everybody hates Saban. He's trying to build alliance with Mullen. I don't know about that, man. Nobody wants to deal with that fucking clown. Stop playing. Nobody cares about Mullen. Yeah, Jay also goes back up and says that the wide receiver was legit. Talk about Van. Yeah, no, he's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be a problem. I think they have to. I expect Beamer to utilize him more. Obviously, it's not a true litmus test, but I do think that seeing his ability to make plays against the defense of the caliber of Georgia's, I think you really start to see, and especially look with Doty coming back. With Doty back, I really believe that it's going to be a different ball game, and Carolina can progress at a different level than what they had with Zeb Nolan. If you don't remember, Zeb Nolan wasn't even supposed to be a starter. He was a grad assistant. He was a coach. That got pushed into a starting spot. And obviously Kagan, one of our guests from a recent show, said it perfectly. That's a testament to the state of the program right now. You have Doty, and then you had Zeb Nolan, a coach turned player. This is like a water boy situation a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it just don't make sense. So, that's a testament to they got to get better guys in at the quarterback position. And look, if you're a South Carolina fan and you're listening to or watching this part right here, I understand that you got guys coming in. I think you'll be fine. You just got to be patient. And hopefully your boosters and things like that buy into what Beamer's providing you right now, because I think the change is coming in a good way. You just got to be patient. Got to be patient. G. Bowman says you're not stopping a great offense to win it all. You need to score. Look, I agree with that. I agree with that, which is why I'm worried about. I'm not really worried about it, but I'm curious to see what happens with in a couple of weeks with Bama and Ole Miss. Now, I know y'all are playing at Bryant-Denny, but can you stop? I don't expect y'all to stop that offense, but can y'all score more points? That's the question. That's the question. I know you're going to score points on that defense because Ole Miss's defense. Look, they were atrocious last year. Like there was a stat, if I'm not mistaken, they could have sat there, not even had to play on defense and still win. I can see that too. Another shootout. I can see that. I'm just curious to see if y'all can put up the same amount of points because y'all did lose a lot of offense. Y'all did lose a lot of offensive production though. Sorry about that, guys. But no, I do think it'll be a damn good game to watch. I do. I think that's going to be a good game to watch. Week 5 in SEC is about to be a lit fucking week. It's going to be pretty. Jay thinks that Ole Miss wins that in a close one. Look, that's a pick 'em right now. That really is. I really need to see some changes in the defense. Like, if Bama's defense does what I'm expecting it to, I think they get to Matt Corral. But if they don't, I feel like one of the problems with Alabama's defense, at least against Florida, and G, correct me if I'm wrong, I just don't think y'all generated enough pressure, and the linebackers had a hard time making tackles because that's not a typical thing to see an Alabama defense struggle to make tackles, and it happened. So, you start to hear Saban complaining and talking about things like that and kind of sound grumpy and grouchy and, talking right here, but it kind of showed against Florida. And that's the thing that, like I said, Saban's a mastermind at this, and the talent is never the question there. It's just a matter of, can they get it right? Can they get it right? You play Southern Miss this week. So this is a perfect time. This is the perfect time to make these adjustments, rotate these guys in, see who's going to step up. That, and honestly, if that happens, you sit there, then you start to play the gauntlet in the West. That's where you're going to see what your team's made of. You look at games like A&M. That right there might be a game where you see what Bama's about. Especially on the defense against Ole Miss. That's going to be a question right there. Do I expect Alabama to make it to the West championship wise? Yes. Until proven otherwise. But there's always there is a glimmer of doubt about the Ole Miss game now, because just what I saw from the defensive output in the second half. So, do I think they win? I think so. But you're going to have to play a lot damn better than what you did against Florida. That's just the way that's just going to be. You can't sit there and put that kind of performance out there and expect to come away with the offense being as hot as it is in Ole Miss. You just can't. You just can't. But, kind of looking back up here, continuing to read some more comments. Let me see. Hey, thanks again, everybody that wished me happy birthday at the beginning of the show. But no, I think if you have any questions, shoot them out real fast. We'll take a couple more, depending on how the comment section goes here. But I do kind of want to talk about where Georgia stands. Oh, Black Hollywood, thank you, sir. I'm looking at it right here, though, and my thoughts on Georgia, right? There's some oh, hold on. Speak of the dang devil, Mr. Daniels.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Not bad at all, man. Not bad. Let me switch this over here for you. Hold on. There we go. All right. Welcome back.
Yes, sir.
So we're doing some Q&A, and we were just talking about. I want to hear your thoughts on the South Carolina game, and get your thoughts on that from a guess of grand scheme of things. If you want to be detailed, go for it. If just let me know what you thought.
You know what? Offensively, it was just pretty much what we needed. We needed to make sure that we were able to run the ball. I like the passing. I wasn't crazy about them switching Stetson in when JT was basically on fire. It's one of those things. Hey, man, let him get ramped up, let him get revved up, and let him go. you know what, they popped off a couple of long plays on us, but defensively, you know what, it's just, we bent, we didn't break, we bowed our necks. And I'm going to tell you what, man, that defensive front is out of this world. And then so looking at what Georgia was able to do against the South Carolina team that historically we've had some trouble with, I was very, very, very impressed. Seeing what Alabama struggle a little bit against against Florida. Hey, I think the more and more that we talk about it, this is our year. And South Carolina, we talked about it last week. This needs to be a statement game. Every game that we play from here on out, going up against Vanderbilt, needs to be a statement game. And now we're going to become elite, get into the elite status.
I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I think one of the things that I really took away from it, though, and I know you weren't here for the podcast portion, I really liked what I saw from an execution standpoint. I thought we played a really good game. There were a couple plays. Look, some of these plays that they made, right, on offense, just a testament to the receiver making a damn great catch, right? There was those couple plays where they beat us deep. Look, they just made a great play. They really did.
Yeah.
But obviously you look at that right there, there's still some questions. I said it earlier as well. I don't think Erickson is the guy at right guard. I just don't feel comfortable with keeping him there, which is why I think either Broderick or Mims has to take that spot, the left tackle spot, with authority to be able to move Schaefer and then rearrange that line. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow and what we expect with the offensive line. But, just a question mark. We still saw, like I said, I don't want to bash players, things like that, but Erickson got whipped from an athletics and, testament to Birch and Pickens. Those guys aren't bad. It's just, he's just not as athletic as you need to be. He makes a good center, but the guard, he just gets beat athletically.
Right.
And that's just something you got to work with.
But hold on 1 second for.
Yep. Ooh. See what's going on here.
All right, I got you.
No, you're good. So I'm going to read a comment here. G Bama Boy asks, are you guys sold on JT? He thinks Kirby wants to keep. Where'd it go? Oh, no. I'll put it up on the chat here. Hold on. Sorry, he was talking about JT Daniels here. There he goes. All right, so he asked, G Bama Boy asks, are we sold on JT? I think Kirby wants to keep Stetson ready just in case. To answer that, I'll let Juan answer after. G, I think I'm sold on him. I am. You look at the last 4 games, sure, you can question who we played. But looking into the first game here, I think, you're looking against Clemson, you could say that he was injured in the game, but, I saw a lot of experience showing against Clemson because an inexperienced player would make throws that he didn't throw. We saw a lot of checkdowns and the offense was stagnant, what felt like. But he protected the ball. And in a game of that magnitude, Alabama fans understand this. Protecting the ball and limiting turnovers is key. Obviously, second game we didn't get to see him against UAB. Stetson showed the hell out. Cool. But then you come back against South Carolina, which is an SEC opponent nonetheless, and you don't see any signs of rust. Obviously, I'm sold on him. But I do think that, obviously – I don't even think Stetson's going to be the back. I think you have to keep Beck at backup. Really get these guys ready for next year because JT's more than likely going to be gone, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Beck versus Brock. Bringing in Gunner, having that 3-way competition, which I think ultimately would be Beck and Brock. But nonetheless, look, you're getting these guys ready. But I think I'm sold on JT. Juan, what do you think?
I'm definitely sold on him. And here's why. So if you look at the old school Nick Saban, you had your McElroys and those guys that are, basically they're just game managers. And right now, JT Daniels is in a game manager type situation. He's not really asked to do a whole lot. I mean, he did throw that pick against Clemson, but again, that was just a coverage thing. Venables did a great job in that game, but it was basically saying, hey, JT, we just need you to manage the game. Let's not turn the ball over. and let's just march down the field, and we're going to rely on our defense. And that's what we did. So if you think about the Alabamas of old, they weren't flashy quarterbacks. They did not put a whole lot of points on the board. You think about the LSU, Alabama, where, the national championship, or even in the regular season, where, hey, they were just saying, hey, just get us in a good position to either kick a field goal, score a touchdown, let the defense do the rest. Kirby has that mentality right now, and he's got that guy in JT Daniels. Whereas last year, Stetson Bennett, they kind of asked him to do a lot. And anytime that you get down versus an Alabama or Florida, then you're asking your quarterbacks who are not as experienced, or they're not their gunslingers, to do a whole lot more. Can JT Daniels be that gunslinger? Absolutely. But right now, they just need JT Daniels to manage the game, do whatever he needs to do just to make sure that you're putting the defense in a great situation and also managing field position.
Absolutely. Looking back, kind of testament to how the game's changed, right? One where, 9-10 years ago, you look back at 2011, 2012 with LSU and Bama game. You remember how that was? The quarterbacks weren't really making any plays at all. I mean, they made a couple plays when you needed to on third downs. But other than that, you just handed the ball off to a running back or a stable of running backs, and then sit there and watch elite defense on all three levels just win you games. And you look at
use the tight ends and do the check downs with the backs. I mean, that's all. That's all Alabama did, and they were national champions. And so right now we are, like we talked about earlier in the season, Robert, we are right now in a place where we are in the driver's seat. We're going to play a good, tough Florida team, but they don't have anything for our defense. We're going to probably play an Alabama team in the SEC championship. They will not have anything for our defense. So we just need to make sure that offensively, we just go out there, we're going to make plays. And that was too, you were just talking about our guard play. That was a concern going into the Clemson game. So, here it is where, we really need to, replace that guard. And then as we continue to go out, we're going to get, better, more experienced. South Carolina, they had a very, very good defensive front.
They did.
UAB had a very, very good defensive front. So as we're playing these teams that have these great defensive fronts, or, even better than mediocre, then our line is getting experience. They're getting better and better. So by the time that we run into the Floridas, and then we run into the, to the Alabamas, we should be hitting on all cylinders. We're going to have a lot of people missing pieces back. So it's going to be awesome.
Obviously, if we get the pieces in and get the offensive line adjusted, I'll make a little spoiler here. Look, I think you're going to see a heavy rotation early in the Vanderbilt game. It's just because of who Vanderbilt is. It's a game to legitimately, make experiments and test who's going to be ready. Get these guys experience it. And I think that's what's going to happen. But obviously we'll talk about more on that tomorrow in depth. But look, I just think that one, we're getting guys back from injury at the right times. With, I think, Tyke, Darnell, Pickens ahead of schedule, which, I was talking to that. You could see him around Florida game. That right there, just picturing that is going to be nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare for, opposing defensive coordinators. It just is. But now I want to transition over what G said here. If Bryce misses time, we're in trouble. And this is what Tanil mentioned, having experienced backups and having a quality depth there. That's a key factor there because, from a Georgia standpoint, if JT goes down, at least we have some kind of comfort understanding what Stetson can do if we need to rely on Stetson. Obviously you have Beck, which is super talented, just not have the experience yet. But nonetheless, I just think that, having that quality depth, because it's going to happen, right? It's the SEC, right? There's always that chance, regardless if you're playing Vanderbilt or Alabama, your quarterback can go down and you have to be ready. And seeing what Stetson's done, at least we have some confidence here. If Beck starts to have problems, then you sit there and put in Stetson and you think things will get corrected. So having that quality time makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, with that being said, kind of going here to what he says again. He says that Bama's going to score on Georgia. Clicking. He said it'll be clicking. And honestly, it's Saban. I think there's a possibility that that's the case. I just don't see. Bama always reloads. They always reload. It's crazy to see the machine that they have. You lose to Mac Jones comes in and looks even better, right? But I'm curious to see. I like what Mechie's doing. I like Jamison Williams. I'm just curious, do you get it right? But the question is, not on offense, is your defense. What is your defense going to do? Is it going to be clicking by that time? Because if not, I think Georgia has the pieces around it. It's not going to be struggling as bad as people think what we saw last year.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing too that you have is that we faced DJ, from Clemson. So we've faced your pure passer. We will have faced Florida's quarterbacks, and we'll also face some other athletic quarterbacks, and so we'll get an opportunity to really just kind of gauge where we are dealing with that dual threat. Right now, Bryce does more sitting in the pocket, trying to throw the ball than anything else, and so I think by the time that we get to that Alabama game, we will be well prepared to say that they're going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns and be clicking. I don't foresee it. I think that we will have faced enough athletic dual quarterbacks, and then we'll also have faced, enough offenses. Because think about it. Even though Clemson did struggle against Georgia Tech,
they did
offensively. They have some great receivers, and they have some big time weapons that we pretty much shut down. And also too, looking at it, South Carolina has some really good receivers and some great backs, and we pretty much shut them down. And I think that as time goes on, we're going to get stronger. We're also going to get better. But it's going to be a great game.
If things go as planned, right, and you see Georgia Bama in the SEC championship game, I think it will be a good game. To your point, let's see where he said. Yeah, they have the talent, and G is not wrong. They have talent everywhere. And he says that they need a little bit of time. I agree with that, but I do think that you have to get it right sooner than later, because in a couple of weeks, Ole Miss is going to put probably the hardest test that you're going to see from a defensive standpoint, and you got to find a way to respond to that. Now, obviously, you have an offense as well, and I think offense is going to put up points as well. But I do think that you have to show the ability to make stops. So with the defense being an issue with tackling and things like that, you really got to hone in on that this week. If you're Bama, you really have to make an emphasis on tackling and getting the fundamentals and establishing those fundamentals. Because if not, you're in for a very long game against Ole Miss. Because I know it's Tulane, but my God, what offensive performance that was.
Yeah. And Ole Miss has something to prove. You got Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin really, really has something to prove, and he's scary.
I can't agree with you more there, because ever since he's been a coordinator and a coach, he's always had that offensive mind. When he was with Bama, it was just an offensive genius, and it really
he changed their program. He honestly, Bama went from being the McElroys and the quarterback being the game manager to now you've got three. Not one, not two, but three. No one would have ever thought Alabama would have a quarterback in the NFL that would start, let alone two, let alone three NFL quarterbacks from Alabama. It's just unheard of. So
I'm with you.
Lane Kiffin is he's been successful at Tennessee, been successful at USC, at FAU. And now Ole Miss, and they're scary. That was when I had them in my top, in my power rankings, that fast break offense that they have it's giving people trouble.
Yeah, no, there's something about the Ole Miss. And we'll answer this comment here. I think if they beat, if this happens in a couple weeks, if Ole Miss does beat Alabama, I really believe you're going to see an elite offense. Like, I'm talking like elite offense against an elite defense. And I think that'll solve some questions there, right? Obviously, I love what Georgia's about. I love our defense. Matt Corral is going to be the Heisman. Right now, I'm calling it now. if I wouldn't bet the mortgage on it or anything like that, but damn, I feel pretty comfortable that he would be your Heisman. He's easily the front runner right now. Looking at it though, I do think that you have to see, what our defense brings, and that just poses a threat to us. We have to get better on defense. And you may be asking why I say this. Georgia's weakness is their strength. The passing game, beating you deep. Yep. And if Josh Vann can do that from South Carolina, bet your ass Matt Corral and all those guys are going to sit there and do that. They're going to be able to do it. So, that's why Georgia has to figure out who's playing beside Darren Kendrick. Darren Kendrick's got to get better too. He got exposed against Ohio State. He got mossed, as people like to call it. But look, like I said, that right there, that catch was just a testament that, just making a great play. Could have been a little bit of better position from Kendrick, but, where he was, high pointing the ball and still getting caught over, you can't really be mad at that. That's just a receiver making an excellent play, something about.
Yeah. You're right.
Tanil thinks the Bama Ole Miss game it's going to be a tough one, but Bama wins. I'm kind of with you there. I really am. I do think, looking at Bama though, I know we've talked a lot about Bama so far, but you can't really. How much can you take away from Ole Miss? I mean, not Ole Miss, but Southern Miss. How much can you take away from that game if you're an outsider looking in? What do you think, Juan?
Well, I mean, you can't really take a whole lot from it. I mean, you can't. It's really nothing to really base a whole lot on on a Southern Miss team. I mean, historically, Southern Miss is, now they have in the past they've kind of snuck up on some teams. In fact, in '96 they beat us. That was really bad. But talent wise, recruit wise, and all that, they just don't really measure up to really give you any type of a measurement or a gauge as to how good your program really is.
I'm with you there. That's the thing. I think like having cupcakes, like, I like it, I understand it, but I don't at the same time, because like, how do you expect to get better when you play a superior, like a vastly inferior opponent? You can't really do that. You're just basically playing against somebody else, But I look at it this right here. Tanil wants Kirby to be the first assistant to beat Saban, and I think that's something that the media has driven this streak. They're milking the hell out of it, in my opinion. But it's still a thing. It's still a thing. Do you think Lane is going to be the guy, or do you think Kirby's going to be the guy?
I don't think Lane. I don't think it's going to be this year. Kirby probably right now has the best shot at it, because again, although Ole Miss is pretty good offensively, defensively, they just I don't necessarily see them stopping Alabama. Florida, if you look at it, they are pretty good offensively. They just didn't have the defense to do it. Whereas, Kirby has the defense to do it. And defense wins championships. And, if you have a couple of, 3 and outs versus Alabama, then all of a sudden that anxiety is going to start to set in. And then, let us just run the ball. I think offensively, too, we have more weapons. We have a better quarterback. We have better skill guys and a better line than Florida has. And for them to score that many points on Alabama should, be concerning to Nick Saban right now and the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I think we see Bama in the SEC championship game, and G also says that Georgia's their equal, not Ole Miss, and he thinks that they're not going to lose October 2nd. And currently, obviously we'll probably make this prediction the week of. I think it's worth it because week 5 is just so loaded with good SEC games. I think that we're probably going to make that something that we really do kind of make picks on, because that's worthwhile. But looking at it right here, Juan, I'm with you. I think Kirby is the first guy to do it, and this is the best year to do it. I do think that I think that he rights some wrongs. Saban does. It's just what he does. It's just what he does. Right. But this year is also telling me that there's going to be 2 two SEC teams in the playoffs. Just the way that's going to be.
I can see that if Georgia and Alabama play a very close game in the SEC championship, then you'll have two SEC teams in there. I see Oklahoma losing a game or two. I mean, they just are not a very good defensive football team right now to let Tulane hang all those points on there. The Big Ten right now, you've got Michigan, who's actually the darling or the star of it right now. But then you always know what they do against Ohio State. They usually will go out there and drop an egg. The ACC is just an absolute disaster. I mean, any chance of the ACC, it's done. I mean, you can't, for Clemson, you can't go and make an argument when you struggle and and beat Georgia Tech, a very, very, very bad Georgia Tech team, 14-8. So it almost is like the winner and the loser of that SEC championship is going to be they're going to be there. Now, what's going to be difficult is if Alabama's number one and then they just barely beat Georgia, then it's going to be Alabama, and then will Georgia drop to 4? Then it's just going to be a rematch. That's where it's going to get kind of weird and dicey.
Gotcha. So we're getting some. Hey, Juan, we're getting some feedback. It sounds like your audio. You sound like Darth Vader. You sound like Mullen talking on Halloween. The imagination's running wild there. But I do want to talk about some comments here from G. Let me get to them first. That way I can. Let me see. Actually, Tanil mentioned that Big Bear transfers to IMG, showing up wearing Georgia gear. My take on this before I let you talk about it, Juan, I think him transferring to IMG is a big deal for Georgia, and here's why. Georgia has had a vast amount of success with IMG kids. You look at all the guys from IMG Academy on Georgia's roster. That typically is a sign of good things to come for Georgia. Look, kids wearing Georgia gear, kids wearing A&M gear, it doesn't matter what they wear. You can't really tell, indicate anything from that. But you look at that right there. Like, that tells me that, obviously Florida is out of it. Obviously he's made his top 2, but there's no chance for any other team to make a come, especially Florida not making a comeback with this because they're terrible at recruiting IMG. But nonetheless, I think that's a good sign for Georgia. And honestly, with Big Bear, I think that's something that we really absolutely need because you're losing Davis, you're losing Wyatt. You need that true nose tackle, that big body. Obviously with Shaw committing to North Carolina, Big Bear is the only guy that fits the measurables that you need for what we need, to try to replace Jordan Davis. And, the fact that Tanil brings that up, like I said, I think that makes a very good feel for me, just from an initial standpoint. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I obviously too, if you're going to go somewhere and you're showing, wearing something Georgia, like that's a huge and a big time sign for us. It's no different from these guys that are playing in these games and they actually will do their hands like that and they'll have like the logo of who they are. But it would be an excellent time for him to come in because, like you said, you've got guys that are leaving and you can go in there and step in and you can be the guy or you can vie, for some playing time. And so, and then of course too, it almost seems as if he's basically assessing the other situations and thinking, man, like, do I have an opportunity to either, play, get on the field, or do I have an opportunity to play and, compete for a national championship? And I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the deciding factor.
Right there with you again. I really am. So I saw this comment scrolling back up here. I need both of these guys in here to say this because this might be the record here. Jay Shipes asked G Bama Boy, want to bet YouTube profile picks for a week on the winner of the Ole Miss and Bama game. I need both of y'all to comment because this could be the record right here, guys. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you now. I need both of y'all to respond if this is true or not because me and Juan will put it on record. I'm just going to say
Yeah.
that. I'm just going to say that now. I love seeing stuff like this. So Jay also says, when's Florida going to get some more murders on the team to be relevant again? I'm not even mad. So obviously, Juan, I know you're able to see comments, but G Bama Boy is the first time, watcher here. One of the things, obviously, you're a receiver here, former receiver, which Tennille stated for him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think y'all played Bama at some point. Did you ever play Bama in your career?
Yeah, we played it. Yeah, we played him twice. We played him in '94, and we ended up losing in the last, few minutes of the game, and then they came and played us in '95, and it was actually bad. They kind of blew us out with Freddie Kitchens being the quarterback of all people. So it wasn't I did not have very much success against Alabama.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I can't say nothing. You look at the Ray Golf times, and that was kind of sometimes where people, it is what it is.
It was tough times.
Yeah, it is what it. Look, Georgia's sitting in a situation now. I think Georgia's in a great spot. I think this is, like I said, this is a year that you could see Georgia possibly win it all. And so, yeah. Let's see here. Guys, it looks to me that I think that's a bet here, if I'm not mistaken. I see Jay saying he's going to pick a pink Georgia G for G baby, or G Bama. Sorry, my fault. I mean, it makes sense. The G makes sense. Yeah, I'm taking this as a bet, guys. I see y'all talking about it. I see.
Mark it down.
That's going to be something interesting right there. I'm not going to lie. Juan, I think if anybody has any more comments, shoot them. I think we'll take a couple more. If that's the last of the comments, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Obviously, for anybody that just popped in or anything like that or watching us now, look, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Oh, G Bama says no bet for him. Ooh, that tells me he's not comfortable with that game, huh?
Looking forward to tomorrow, man. Just with some analysis and all that other kind of good stuff. So I think it'll be a good game. Yeah, I think obviously looking into Vanderbilt, I think the point spread went from 31 to 34.5, immediately. It's going to be ugly. I mean, obviously we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but yeah, they're expecting a massacre in Nashville. Well, what happened last year, and how Vanderbilt canceled that game and this, senior day and stuff. If Kirby doesn't try to score at least 120 points, then I'll be extremely disappointed. Yeah, I'm with you there. I am absolutely with you there. Juan, I'm gonna wrap it up. I think we'll wrap it up here, and we'll come back on tomorrow at noon. Perfect. Again, if you're watching this, make sure you subscribe. Liking does a lot for the algorithms here, for YouTube, things like that. So make sure you subscribe. Like I said, it does a ton for the show. Come back in noon tomorrow. Like I said, Vanderbilt preview. Juan, we'll do your power rankings since you weren't able to do it for the podcast episode, so we'll hit those tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait just one more day closer to game day. Yes, indeed. Go Dogs, and I'll catch up with you later, Robert. All right, buddy. Have a good one, man. All right, man. Guys, you too. All right, guys. That's all we're going to do for today. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and tune in tomorrow. Go Dogs.